Welcome back to Frontline Eurosports Online. Your host Nate Jennings is here with Forrest to do an awesome delivery of our favorite Ducati, the Panigale 959. You rocking and ready?
Oh, I'm ready, man.
Woo! Awesome. Talking about, was this the highlight of your day or what?
It was.
Awesome.
All dressed up coming here, I saw this thing, it was amazing.
Woo! That silk white, stick it out. So the very first thing I give everybody is we are in a used 2016, so it has 717 miles on. The tires have been broken in, but still it has been ridden super aggressively on the side. So we still ride like we're riding in the rain when we're getting to our more aggressively, starting out with this machine. We have a very stringent Ducati tire pressure, 36.2 pounds of pressure front and rear on this particular machine, which you can see on the placard I'll show you here in a minute on the steering column of this motorcycle. We're going to have 17-inch wheel configuration with a conventional Pirelli Diablo 120 70-17 front wheel size. We have a twin disc braking system with Brembo radial mounted brakes with steel braided brake lines. With the steel braided lines, we're not going to have any of that mushy feeling of expansion of rubber properties. It's going to be more direct application from the master cylinder to the piston cups and the caliper. We also have speed sensor pickups that we can see on the other side of the wheel. That's working our ABS and our DTC, Ducati traction control. As we come back on the beautiful white motorcycle, we can see how Ducati lovingly wraps it in beautiful plastic to keep it encapsulated and hide that nasty twin motor that it has, which is your Super Quattro power plant. And this is going to be our engine hidden behind this piece with the exhaust has a little cutout on the bottom, and then your lower mount exhaust itself. Our rear pilot pegs are located on the side right here with the rear braking system from Brembo. That behind the hill guard is our master cylinder, which has steel braided lines again going up to the ABS module and redispersing it out to the rear wheel. We have our fluid level and fluid clarity and that overflow bottle located right here on the side of the engine. As we're going back through the motorcycle, we're going to have our correlating Pirelli tire, which is a 180/60/17. That's something to be very mindful of. It's one off size, 180/60. Typically it's the 180/55/17s. We have our rear brake rotor, Brembo master cylinder and brake caliper with our steel braided line. And on this side we can see the speed sensor pickup. And it's just reading ones and zeros or light and no light digital logic. We know that from our time with military training. As we walk further around the back of this motorcycle, we're going to have our sexy LED brake lamp assembly, and there's an awesome fender illuminator kit you can get for this.
Definitely going to have to.
Absolutely, man. Boom, so we'll get that going, and that's also going to blend it nicely with the angles of our LED brake lamp assembly back here. We're going to have our passenger seat that we can remove with a lock cylinder, and then our front seat, as you can see right here, we have a tool that's required to pull the pilot seat off of this motorcycle. We're on a chain-driven motorcycle, so we're going to have a chain to maintenance and adjust, and unfortunately, chain lubrication. It can flame on our beautiful, sexy wheels, but there's a proper technique to lubricating it. We're going to warm the tire up, or the chain up. We're going to use a grunt brushing solvent to clean off. It's O-ring safe. Reapply it and lightly wipe off the excess, so we don't have that excessive amount of chain lube tackling our rear wet thread tire right there. As we come to this side, we have our rear suspension. Our rear suspension is three-way adjustable on this component, and we also have our correlating foot peg rest that is going to have a Ducati quick shift on it for clutchless upshifting. So now, instead of just finding the right RPM and throttle blips and whatnot to clutchlessly shift, we can stay in the throttle and stay in the power, clutchlessly upshift through the gears. Puts a smile on your face already, I like it. And that's what this little module right here is on our shift linkage, which is still adjustable shift linkage though. We can still adjust the pedal height with that and find what's perfect for us. So the rest of this motorcycle is encapsulated. Good to see you, man.
Nice seeing you.
In this beautiful Arctic white silk paint scheme, and we can't see a lot of the engine and go over those components, but I want to get into our handlebars and controls. So on the left side of this motorcycle, we're going to have our twist throttle. We have our ride-by-wire throttle housing right here. We are set up with a run cycle switch, and that is going to actually cover and remove our start button when it's in the kill situation. Okay. So, little action right there of slipping that switch up will expose our start button for the motorcycle. Right now it's not going to start with the ignition off, obviously. So we have our shower front suspension that's going to be adjustable as well, and we're going to be able to play with a steering stabilizer up front here. We can do some upgrades if we need more stabilization with adjustable steering stabilizers and things of that nature if we need to upgrade to that level. We have our Brembo brake master cylinder, Brembo clutch master cylinder, which is going to be for our hydraulic steel braided line setup clutch system. That is an adjustable lever. We can pull this booger out and change the friction zone for the brake and clutch with this booger right here. The controls are very minimalistic. It's one of the things I really like that Ducati's transitioned into is really simple controls. So we do have the absolute best location for a horn. It's going to be a lot different than your previous model. Take a look here. It's just offset to the side, but it's still in the low position. It's just a very convenient place to hit it and let people know, boop, boop, badass Ducati coming through. We also are going to have our turn signals, a cancelization in the center, but that is a 2-function button. Okay. It's going to give us more than just cancelization and turn signals. We'll get into that with your mode selections here in a second. We have an up and a down arrow on these two switches, which is going to go through our odometer settings and through our fuel metering settings that we'll display in a hot second. This is a little different setup. It's pushing down to go from a high beam to a low beam with your trigger switch up here or intermittently flashing it. So now you can conveniently raise your horn volume and your light. Big badass Ducati coming through. So those are most of our handlebars and controls. We can lock the steering column by turning the steering column to the side. You can see actually the knobs coming out from the steering column stop point right there. Push that back in, and at this point I can let you start the ignition up for just queuing up the ignition. We're not going to actually hit the start button yet. So we queue up the display, and you see all the beautiful lights across the top. We can see right now, it's easy to see a flashing ABS and traction control light. The ABS and traction control light, those are going to go away after we have rotated the tires a certain distance or got enough speed that the speed sensors are picking up, sending the signal to the ECU, letting it know it's functional for us. You see our neutral light. We can see our turn signals on either side. We also have our high beam that we're not going to see except for, there we go. Over on the right hand side, we're going to have just dummy lights on either side for oil and things of that nature, low fuel lights, but we also, in the center, are going to have our tack light, so our shift light is going to come on for us, or when utilizing traction control, have an illumination there. Below that is our bar graph for our digital tachometer, our digital speedometer below that, our settings for what mode we're in. So we have our mode selection button, the gray one we said we'd come back to. We tap that and we have wet, race, or sport. It's raining outside today. We're going to put it in wet. We can hold that button and constantly hold it until it stays solid there. And that shows us where our engine brake and our traction control and our ABS are set. If we want to see that change, then we can go up to race and watch how we can change those. We'll hold the button on race. And now you can see my ABS has changed from our settings that we had. I'm going to go in there and give you even more manipulation of all these when we progress through the controls. So we're going to start over with the up button, which is on the left display, which is our time running, our timepiece, our odometer, our trip 1, our trip 2, and our fuel. Let's see here. Yeah, go back through there. It's hard to see upside down through the screen. And trip fuel. All right. So then we're going to go back to timepiece and leave time displayed on that side. The lower control on the right hand side, we have average speed displayed. We have ambient air temperature. We're going to have our consumption miles per hour, or miles per gallon, our miles per gallon average, and our average speed, 9 miles an hour. So nothing's reading really good right now. We get back to our ambient air temperature there. In the center of the display, you're going to see low. That means that we just haven't reached engine temperature that it's going to start reading yet. It'll kick on 100, 102 degrees or so and start metering up from there. The lower button on this guy, if we constantly hold the lower button, it's going to bring up our settings menu where we can go through our ride modes, RM right there. Just have our battery display, our backlight settings, our lap settings, our adjustment of clock, our pin number, our RPMs, units of measurement, and I'm going to go into the ride modes and select that for us. So this is where we can go in and actually manipulate. Let's play with sport mode per se. So we have engine power is set at medium. We can go over to our engine brake, we can go to our Ducati traction control or anti-lock braking system and change all of those values, even the quick shift. I don't know why you'd ever want to turn that off. Once you've done all that, you have it down at the memory side. It'll say memorize instead of memory, and you hold that button and get it into memory. We're not going to change any of the settings, so we go back to exit. We can go into wet and do the same thing. You can see in wet, we have our engine power set at low. So if we want to change that we want a lot of power in the rain for some reason, you go up to high power and set that and memorize it. We're going to leave that alone for now and just exit out and get all the way back into our exit menu and back to our main display, where we can now go through things like backlighting if we wanted the backlighting changed. And you can see how it's pretty self-explanatory all this stuff is. So we're going to get ourselves into our exit mode and go back to our normal display. And that is a real good shakedown of a Ducati 959 Panigale for you. So is it everything you dreamed of it to be?
It is so far.
And all the technology you could ever desire to have. So do you have any questions to start with for us right now?
No questions.
Excellent.
Good.
We're gonna get out, start this bad boy up, and hear what the Ducati 959 Panigale has for us. You want to start it up right now? Let everybody else hear it?
I think we're good.
All right. You guys have to watch the next clip of us at the track with it. Thanks for following us on Frontline Eurosports Online with Forrest on his brand new Ducati 959, and Nate, your host at Frontline Eurosports Online. Have a good day.